When you begin a study, okay, I'll go to when I began my first study, I talk to the, first thing I do is I talk to the recruiter on the telephone. They explain the study to me. They tell me what the schedule will be and what the pay will be. And they explain any kind of dangers that they might be in the study. But on the telephone conversation, the first one, you're going to only get the general bare bones and decide whether you want to come in for a screening. And if you do, they'll just schedule you. You want to go as fast as possible. You want to go like tomorrow. You don't want to say, I'll go next week, because I'm a little busy. Because if you do, there's always going to be a lot of other guys or women in a smaller number of studies. There's always going to be a lot of people competing for the same work. And one of the factors that they'll throw into the mix, if they need to, because they have so many much more qualified people than they need, is who came to the screening first and who came second. Okay? So there's all these different ways for the recruiter to choose who to put in the study and who to put on the alternate list and who to say, sorry, you're not going to do it. And you want to work on all of them. If they say, show up for the screening day, you can come anytime you want between 8 o'clock and 11 o'clock in the morning. You want to be waiting there at 7:30. And you're probably going to be on already you're not going to be the first one there, because there's always going to be something that they didn't tell you because it's just too much to say. They don't have enough time. And no matter what they say, it could come up that puts you further back in the line. Same is true with telling them you're healthy, no over-the-counter drugs, no street drugs, no prescription drugs. You're a blank canvas for them to try this new drug on, and you don't smoke. You only have one or two or fewer cups of coffee a day, and your body has to pass muster. You have to give a urine test. That tests for street drugs usually. You give them 4 or 5 tubes of blood, and you can't have, your blood count has to be in the normal ranges. There's all sorts of criteria they list. It's like 15 or 20 things on a little list, and it has to be within the normal ranges. So some of them are more critical than others, and some of them don't involve questions of whether you're healthy or not, like your weight, and your weight has to be within a normal range, and it has to be proportionate to the size of your bones. So they'll measure your elbow, across your elbow with a caliper, and your body mass, your weight, has to be relationship-wise. It has to be normal in terms of how big your bones are. And so I always was like, walked in, no problem, passed, except a few times. Bilirubin is always a tricky thing. Bilirubin is this pigment in your blood. It's the yellowish red pigment that makes your urine yellow and your blood red. And if you're fatigued and you're otherwise perfectly normal and healthy, if you're fatigued for some reason, like driving all night to get to the study, or you ran like crazy down the street to get there on time, or any old thing, I think there's several different reasons you can get it. Your bilirubin will get too high, and they can't see the cells they're looking at under the microscope when they're getting the results of the experiment. When they're gathering the data and writing everything down, they can't see through the microscope as well as they should. So that disqualifies you sometimes. And if you get a high bilirubin rate, it's happened to me a lot, several times. And they'll just, usually if you're a reliable guy, they'll say, oh, you got a high bilirubin rate. Why don't you drop in, as soon as you can, tonight or tomorrow, and just give us another tube, and we'll do it over. It's probably just, you worked too much the night before. And that would usually take care of it. And they worked with me. They always worked with me because I was one of the most reliable guys.